Becton Nyakango?
Well, it's a question that's hard to put in a simple sentence. I remember an article that I did way back in 2016 that simply said that money or currency is not it's not coin.
You've been within the assurance space for a while, for quite a while. You've become an expert. How do you extend your hand out to to mentor?
I usually, and sorry, I cut you short. And I usually say that I know enough to know that I do not know enough.
Assurance Unplugged. Welcome to yet another episode where we unpack matters audit, risk, and compliance and make them as human as possible. Today we are hosting Becton Nyakango. Welcome, Becton, to the episode.
Thank you, Michaeli, for having me on the seat.
Welcome indeed. Maybe just tell us a bit about who is Becton Nyakango.
Well, it's a question that's hard to put in a simple sentence. Away from work, Becton is a lover of cars, good music, and in the boardroom or at work, he's your assurance provider. Away from internal audit, which is the area where I've spent a lot of time on, I've also a keen interest in sustainability, and I've also had the opportunity to offer advice and assurance around the same topics.
And where did all this start?
Well, my journey has been very interesting. But if we are to focus on audit, internal audit more specifically, it begins with the name Mudhoni Laibuta. So it's good to note that before I got into internal audit, I had several stints in different jobs. I worked as a shopper marketing analyst. I worked as an HR consultant, as an accountant practitioner. But it was while at GSK having a chat with Mudhoni, who was then my boss, that she mentioned something within our chats that would change the trajectory of my career. She said to me, Becton, and I'm not using the exact words,
Yeah.
um, you seem it seems to me that you'd easily get bored if you are tied to one functional unit, working either in accounting or finance. You need to look for a job as a consultant. You'll do very well there. And this was true because while I'd enjoyed these different works, I always felt like I didn't see how the input from these areas plugged into the wider organizational framing. And so when I got the opportunity to apply to the graduate recruitment at KPMG, I applied for a strategy consulting role. However, several days later, I got a call that in the current year they were not hiring in strategy. However, there's a related department called IACS, Internal Audit, Risk and Compliance Services, that offers similar solutions. At this point, I didn't know about internal audit. I was familiar with external audit, reviews of financial statements, and one of the amazing things that KPMG did was they invited us to a session where they sensitized us on what internal audit was about and the solutions within the unit, governance reviews, sustainability assurance, a value for money assessment, enterprise risk management. And I understood at that very moment that that's where I ought to be.
Yours sounds life-changing. How would you explain what we do as internal auditors to someone who's totally, they've never done it, they're a layman. What do we do?
Good question. And maybe before I get to that, what I said earlier goes all too well to show how the seemingly minute and apparently insignificant interactions we have with others can go a long way to impact their lives in profound ways. In this case, a simple statement set me on the path of audit. Speaking about internal audit, what we do, well, I would say we are the brakes to a car. Uh, think about a very fast car and you want to drive it very fast. What would you say is the most important thing that you need to have? Is it the skills of the driver? Is it the speed or power of the car or the ability to brake? If you had a fast car and you couldn't brake, you wouldn't drive it fast. And so what we do is we look at the organization, the risks that it faces, and preempt whether they've been adequately mitigated. And part of what that involves is going back into the past to see past transaction to conclude whether any errors were made or um, I don't want to use the word fraud, but check that the controls in place are adequate to enable the organization to meet its objectives.
Interesting. Now you've had several years of experience in this profession. What would a typical day look like for an internal auditor?
It's very dynamic. Every day is a new day. One day you're in the boardroom translating risk into plain English. Another day you're on spreadsheet. And currently, some days you spend interacting with AI because it's become a very important aid in making work more efficient.
Yeah. Uh, Speak to AI hallucination. I don't know. You've just said AI and it clicked in my head.
That's a conversation actually that I usually like to have. And a lot of people within the industry are always concerned and they ask the question, will AI take away our jobs? But the way I think about it is that AI, artificial intelligence, to me simulates the intelligence of humans, but more importantly, we need to reflect on rationality, which is a key element in being human, and especially in the work of an auditor, being able to assess things critically and bring humanity into the work. And there's an interesting study done by scientists where they indicate that intelligence contributes only up to 30% of rationality. And this is an ontological gap that AI lacks. And so every time we get answers or responses from AI, there's always the possibility that it's not relevant in our context. I call it relevance realization. And that is why also occasionally you ask AI a question. Let's say you give it a risk and ask for suggestions on how to control it. It might give you 7 lists of items, all very good. But when you read through, you find that only 2 of them are relevant in your context. It has the knowledge because it can draw from what's on the internet, which is a lot, but it doesn't have the consciousness to rationalize and give you what is relevant in your context. And that feeds into that whole conversation around hallucination.
Bringing it into context, we've had recent reports indicate as Kenyans we are, should I say, overusing ChatGPT. Do we see that affecting the future over intelligence of Kenyans? What's the impact?
That's an important question to ask because the essence of humans is thinking. When we lose our capacity to think, then we are losing an essence of humanity that we have. And so it is common that nowadays, instead of thinking critically through things, we find it easier to just pull up from AI. But more importantly, I have an experience where a friend actually broke her long-term relationship because of the response they got from the feedback they got from AI. And so it is important as we progress within society to reflect on some of these downsides and move on with caution.
So you've left us hanging on that.
Well, I can't give you more details than that.
Okay. Now, moving into internal audits, now we're going back to the control rooms from the boardrooms. There are common misconceptions about our profession. Could you demystify some of this?
I'll speak to the most common one, that the auditors are here to catch us. And while it's true that it's happened before, there is a sense in which if you're being caught, then you did something that's wrong. So it is right that the auditors should catch you,
No.
but that is misses the mark by a very wide margin on what the essence of audit is about. Internal auditors, like I said previously, are there to help the organization meet its objectives and be sustainable. And that's good for everyone, because if the company goes down, you lose your source of income as well. And so everyone should and must have interest in what internal audit does.
Okay. Uh, think of now we now have the global internal audit standards currently in place. How has that helped break down the misconceptions that you have? What's coming in that's new, fresh, going to change things, how we've been doing things? What are some of the key elements you feel that will come through?
The evolution of the IPPF, which comes along also with the standards, is one of the key things I would say that has happened in the last decade for internal audit. And I talk about the IPPF, the International Professional Practice Framework, because it wasn't just the standards that came about, it was the evolution of the IPPF from the old one to the new. And the IPPF currently is composed of global guidance, which is guidance the institute gives on how to execute audit. It allows for standardization of practice and brings in a level of assurance into the works done by different professionals across the globe. Then we have topical requirements, which are um, well, tests or recommended tests that one should do when executing thematic topics. One of the ones which have been issued and I loved going through it, is the cybersecurity.
Yeah.
I do understand that there's ongoing works around ethics and behavior and culture audits as well. And then we also have these standards. Most people like to call them GIAS, but I do remember that at the review stage, the committee indicated that there's going to be a proclivity to want to shorten it or acronymize to GIS, but the recommendation was that we should simply refer to them as the standards.
Mm.
These standards, well, there are 52 standards,
Yeah.
which are divided into um, 15 principles and 5 domains. We have the domain one on purpose of internal audit, another domain on ethics and professionalism, another domain on governing internal audit function, managing internal audit function, and executing engagement, so to speak. The thematic arrangement, I find it makes it easier to make reference to in contrast to what we had before. That said, in terms of content, there's a level of clarity which has been brought into the standards, ranging from the essential conditions for the board that enables internal audit function to execute and the procedural aspects of executing an engagement, the management of internal audit staff, which is also very critical because at the end of the day, the people make all the difference.
Yeah, true. And you've put in a good point in terms of, I really like how it's so simplified. And when I was doing the Spotify version of the GIS, it's really simple. We first define what are we doing as internal audit, what's our purpose. Then we go into what's the behavior expected of us, ethics, professionalism. Then what do we do? How are we governed? How are we managed? How do we perform our work? That's pretty neat. In terms of trust is really a key element in the work we do as internal auditors. And to some extent, if it's broken, if it's not there, basically it it sort of impacts the work we do. How would you say you ensure there's trust in the work we do?
Right. A very important question again. Well, you say that trust underlie the work of audit, but it's a bit broader than that. Trust underlies everything. I remember an article that I did way back in 2016 that simply said that money or currency is not, it's not coins. It's trust inscribed. If you lose trust in a currency, no one wants to accept it. If you lose trust in your partner, then the relationship breaks down. And
Yeah.
in the workplace, and more specifically, speaking about audit, if the engagement clients, if the board has no trust in you, then what assurance are you giving? However, one of the fascinating things that I've come across in relation to the topic trust is an equation for building trust. And to optimize on trust, you need to maximize on credibility. And that speaks to competence, demonstrate an appreciation and understanding of the area that you're revealing, reliability, the extent to which you're transparent, the extent to which you fulfill promises that you make, and intimacy, which relates to relationship that you have, the ability to be vulnerable and to indicate to someone else that they can be vulnerable with you and that you won't betray that trust, and that's spoken on of within the standards confidentiality. If you can maximize on these and then minimize on self-interest, then you have trust. Because I'll give an example. If the auditee feels that because one of your KPIs is the number of findings that you raise, then you have a self-interest in picking up faults within the process, and they are unlikely to trust you.
Yeah, you've put it quite well. I won't even add a pinch of salt to it. Speaking of technology, now we've talked about AI, but how is technology being embraced, or how will technology impact the work we do as assurance providers? Where do you think technology sits in this whole internal audit profession?
Right. First, I'll say I feel that internal audit functions generally are slow adopters of technologies. We tend to pick up on the tech right after the operations team take it up. That said, in terms of impact, two ways. One, on the risk side, we have emerging risks that we have to be alive to. On the other end, we can leverage on on the efficiency gains that technology brings. I easily see how in the future internal auditors will be working alongside AI agents, and much of their work will move away from the routine testing to deriving insight and foresight out of the output of the different technologies that are coming up. And I easily also see how the work of audit will transition from focusing on what's happened, asking the questions, what went wrong, to asking the question, what could go wrong. Literally transitioning from the typically known watchdogs
Yeah.
to guide dogs. I just labeled as dogs.
I didn't see that coming. I thought you'd even say foresight. Speak to foresight. Within, you said we don't call them GIS, I'll call them standards for now. What's the role of foresight? Where do you see it taking or revolutionizing this profession?
Foresight is about looking into the future. So rather than focusing on what's happening now or what happened in the past, asking the question, what's happening in society at the moment? What's the future? What's the future going to look like? What do we need to do now to get us future ready? And as we move towards, or rather, as we get ready for what's going to happen in the future, what do we do now to safeguard against the potential pitfalls that can come up as a result? That is foresight.
Okay. Applying foresight to the profession, who is the internal auditor of the future? What will they possess? What are the skills they'll have? What should they have? What do we foresee?
I think narrowing back to the conversation we've had around AI enabling continuous audits, and much of the work of the auditor remaining then is stakeholder engagement. So communication is going to become a key skill, but also an appreciation and a good understanding of technology will remain very crucial for internal auditors.
Okay. Now moving into the space of you've been within the assurance space for a while, for quite a while. You've become an expert. How do you extend your hand out to to mentor?
I usually, and sorry, I cut you short. And I usually say that I know enough to know that I do not know enough. I hesitate to use the word expert, but that said, to pick up from where you left, mentorship. Socrates once said, "I can't teach you anything. I can only show you how to think." And so, helping new auditors build a foundation, pointing them to the right information like the standards, and indicating to them the right skill set that they need to build is very important, but also more crucial is allowing them to make smart mistakes, because it's through that you also learn and develop the ability to think for yourself.
Mm. Hmm. You've met this young profession. They've not yet chosen. They're studying currently, but they'd like to probably specialize in internal audit or auditing. What would be your advice to them?
Think, reflect inwardly about who you are as a person, because we've painted a rosy picture of the profession,
Yeah.
but there's the other side to the coin. You have to have the emotional stability to have uncomfortable conversations, including with top management. And You also need to be able to deliver under pressure, because oftentimes you will be bound by deadlines and timelines which have to be met. So think about, go back to that childhood wonder. What caused you excitement in your early ages of development? And as you reflect on these, it will come to you what you really need to pursue. And it is also okay
Yeah.
to understand that you can always transition from one job or role to a different one if the one you currently are on is not working for you.
Okay. Interesting. You mentioned your decision to sort of join internal audit. There's a detour at some point. What was your original plan? Growing up, what did you actually want to be?
Right. Interesting. As a kid, in my teen, I wanted to be a mechanic,
That's your
or
love for cars.
more accurately, mechanica, as we call it. But I don't think my parents would allow me to go into that. My teachers in high school really used to push me to pursue a career in law. Um,
You should have.
well, there's still time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be an investment banker. That was right after watching the movie. I don't remember the name, but it was about the depression in 2008 that was caused by the um, happenings within the banking sector. I don't want to go to the details of who sold mortgages, etc. Yes, that got me interested in investment banking. And now, after campus, I had the opportunity to be at Citibank and experience what bankers do, which fascinated me. The beauty of working in internal audit space is that there's still always room to move across sector and work, including in the banking space.
Yeah. No. Outside of work, what do you do apart from the good English?
Well, away from work, I listen to music. I watch movies, occasionally go hiking. I used to train karate, although it's been a while since I went to a dojo. Spending time with cars, so the dream to be a mechanic is not entirely lost. But I also love reading, especially on psychology and spirituality.
Oh my.
A surprise.
No, spirituality. What does that look like? Do you believe in God?
Uh, well, yes, it's good that you ask, do I believe rather than do I know there's a God? I do. I believe that it's more probable than not that there is God.
Mm-hmm. What forms your basis?
I've read the Bible, tested it, and it is true to me that it's fairly accurate. But there are also, I hesitate to mention this because I do understand the human proclivity to assign something bigger than ourselves to questions we can't answer. But I've had experiences which point me to that idea that there's someone uh, higher than myself who has been at play.
Mm. What's your biggest inspiration? Looking back, looking forward. What has been your biggest driver? What's that thing that drives you?
I listened to a presentation by former CEO at GlaxoSmithKline, Sir Andrew Whitty, and the way the exposition he had is that of a life that was committed to creating impact and doing good. And so whenever I feel that I'm creating impact, positive impact, and doing good, being kind to others, then I'm inspired to do the best I can.
Okay. Speaking of your love for cars, any relationship?
Ferrari. So
Is it your favorite? I mean,
well, fast cars generally, but if you asked me my favorite car at the moment, it's probably a car that's not being produced. I saw a video about BYD engineering of a car that it's incredible, can go, a hybrid car that can go 2,000 miles or kilometers. I'll have to confirm on just one tank and one full charge. Incredible.
okay. I'm not a car enthusiast. I love speed, but yeah, if you talk of speed, I'm in. It's been it's then gone.
The first car.
No comment. It's been an incredible session with Becton Nyakango. Parting shots. Final words.
Talking about there is talking about the spirituality aspect. I'll go back to scriptures. There is a verse that says, "Seest thou a man diligent in his service? He shall not stand before mean men. He shall stand before kings." Another says, "Whatever thy hand findeth to do, do it with all thy might." And Martin Luther, I believe, once said that if you are called to be a street sweeper, sweep, even as Michelangelo painted or Beethoven composed music, sweep so well that the angels in heaven will write that here was a man who swept well.